thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today on our Side by Side podcast in partnership with the Citizen Hub. We're going to have a chat today around how we can help women thrive in life, with a special focus on midlife women. And so who's here, first of all? It'd just be great. Little brief intro.
I'm Ingrid from Midlife 360. We're a social enterprise supporting women find their way through the work-life balance and also finding good jobs that work for them.
Okay, I'm Belle, and I came to Mind as a member of the community through a Good Mood Cafe, and through that Good Mood Cafe I met our volunteer manager, and I led into a role volunteering, and I trained to be a peer mentor. So now I do one-to-one work in the community with people. I facilitate Good Mood Cafes. I'm also part of the facilitation of some of our workshops as well, which focus on all those sorts of things about improving our mental health and our well-being.
Oh, wow. And have just done so much amazing support in the community. Jen?
And I'm Jen. I'm the Perinatal Services Manager at CPSL Mind. So I lead the service where we're supporting new mums and dads. And I came to Mind through the service as well, so kind of I get lived experience, I'm just kind of seeing different areas of the service and what's going on, and so I'm really passionate about kind of talking about what's going on and what's really out there.
Brilliant, yeah, absolutely. And Ingrid, I think just to hear about the amazing work that you're doing in the community, what do women need in order to thrive, with a focus on the workplace?
That's quite a big question. There's so many different elements of that. So I came into this through my sort of lived experience of returning to work and going, well, who's going to employ me? I've been 10 years out with my children doing craft and silver jewellery and those sorts of things, but where my skills are out of date, my understanding of tech is way out of date. And I kind of realised that I wasn't the only woman who felt like this. I mean, I was very lucky. I got a great job, worked with a local business, and was able to hone my skills. And the thing it was flexible. And I think a lot of women need that flexibility. They need to be heard. And the challenges that this part of life throws at us need to be recognised, whether it's caring for family, caring for parents. You've got all of this going on, and then someone throws the menopause at you as well. So all of a sudden you've got all of these different challenges, and that's the sort of thing that women want to be able to talk about in a space where, you're not going to get judged, that people understand where you're at. And looking at things like that low-level mental health, like anxiety, overwhelm, loss of confidence, loss of identity, which nobody sees it coming, and it knocks you for six, and you go, right, well, what do I do now? Who's going to employ me? Who's going to take me seriously? And there's women who have got quite senior jobs who are struggling with, hot flushes or brain fog and trying to stand up in front of a meeting and you forget what you're saying, all of these sorts of things. There's so many women out there that need that kind of element of support, and that's where Midlife 360 comes in, to be able to hold that space for women, but also to enable people to understand that they're not on their own. I think you mentioned that earlier, that kind of isolation of that can be quite debilitating if you're looking for a job. So Midlife 360 looks to bring women together in a safe space. Sorry, that was a really long answer.
No, that's brilliant. And I think, Jen, you can obviously resonate with that in terms of the work that you do in the perinatal team, but also your own, you've amazingly shared your own story, which has obviously helped so many people as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really important, like you say, the work that we do is that safe space. So, enabling people to come together to, not feel isolated in what they're going through, meet other people going through, support each other going through. It's that peer support, that element that's really, really important in those spaces as well. And the people that we see come through and go out the other side, walk away feeling so much more connected with people around them, connected with the community, and able to kind of move forward and find themselves again, and find that missing bit where they'd kind of lost who they were again. As you say, Olivia, kind of, I've been there, I have that lived experience. I, struggled myself after I had my children, and again a little bit later on as well, when kind of there were life changes going on in my life, and reaching out for that support and having those people around me was really, really important at that time, to be able to move forward in my journey.
Was there anything in particular that stayed with you from something that someone said or to really help in that moment?
I think it's just that connection with other people. You do, you know, that is the big thing, and it's something that we hear from, you know, lots of the women that we work with, that isolation, that, you know, I didn't realise there were other people out there going through the same or, you know, similar situations. You feel like you're the only one. You see, you know, the world going by, you know, around you, and you think, you know, everyone else has got it together and everyone else is doing okay. So what is wrong with me? Why am I the one who can't get this? And actually, you know, having that safe space, meeting those people, and that connection it was just, you know, that was the biggest thing for me. And I think, you know, like I say, a lot of what we hear for the women that we support is that, yeah, it's just reassuring to know there's other people out there.
Yeah, I think about being honest, isn't it, and to be open. And I think of Belle, I mean, you've been, you know, so open about your own story.
Yeah, I mean, so basically how I sort of came to be involved with Mind, back in 2023, I was in a place where I was very unwell, and, you know, the decline to which of that meant that I sort of lost a lot that sort of resembled my life. And, you know, it was that kind of being isolated in that position and thinking, oh my God, how do I get out of this? I mean, my experience is slightly different to an extent at this stage of my life, because of the mental health challenges I've had throughout my life. Things like having children and getting down the aisle and things like that, those roles that many women of my age had fulfilled and were looking for more, they were things that I had missed out on or sort of slightly felt a failure in to an extent. And the assumption from a lot of people is that if you hadn't focused on family or children, you must have achieved in your career or focused professionally. Again, that was something that my mental health placed sort of barriers in the way for. And so I found myself sort of isolated with no self-esteem and self-worth. And, you know, in isolation without meaning and purpose, it's very difficult to build those things. And I'd lost touch with who I was and what I wanted. And I walked into a Good Mood Cafe, and the thing with those Good Mood Cafes is, like you say, that women need at this time, it's that non-judgmental space where people from all walks of life come together and are supporting each other. And with that empathy, like an unspoken rule of understanding. And that is what I found. And, you know, it was a struggle to start with. And then it became the highlight of my week, that Good Mood Cafe.
That first step, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's just, yeah.
And by chance, I met Laura Breakwell, our volunteer manager, and she is actually talking about women in this position, an example of women who may have been mothers or have their roles in their personal life and family. But professionally, she saw something in me when I met her, and she has supported me. She talked to me about volunteering, gave me opportunities for training, and very much introduced me to the organisation and was a stepping stone to that. Now, I really hope that she feels that self-esteem and fulfilment in her professional career as that individual woman, aside from her other roles. And that is what we need to support women to do at this stage of our life, because instead of being vulnerable for our mental health to decline, it's actually the ripe opportunity, once we've fulfilled those roles that we set out to achieve as young women, what do we want for us now? You know, and how can we get together? And you know, there's so much that needs to be done, especially in male-dominated workplaces, to accommodate for women in order to find their new talents or improve their skills that they already possess with all that wealth of lived experience from our lives, you know, and that's how I got into what I do. And I work with a lot of people one-to-one in that situation as well, and it's all about that confidence and self-esteem.
And Ingrid, how do you, like Belle just mentioned that confidence, how do you help women to build confidence?
It's interesting actually, because it takes a lot for people to reach out and get to the point where they feel confident enough, even just to walk and come talk to me. And there was one lady I was talking to recently, and it'd taken her a year of seeing things on Instagram before she felt she was ready. I was like, you know what, you've done the right thing. And that's having those different touch points was very much part of the creation of Midlife 360. So it wasn't just about come and talk to us, come and do this. It's like there are different ways that you can absorb and understand information from us. So yeah, do one-to-ones, do workshops. I run some of them at the Citizens Hub for I Am Remarkable, which again, when you're not feeling particularly remarkable, can feel
you need to be told, don't you?
Exactly.
I mean, sometimes you just need to hear that.
Absolutely. And that's what this is about. It's about recognising what we're good at. And most of the time people are talking about, it's not that they have earned £1 million, it's about the relationships they have, the impact they've had with other people, their children, their families, there's all of these different things that makes us remarkable. So there's all of that element of it is really inspiring, and people always cry, which is like in a nice way, because it's quite
happy it is.
It is, because you don't allow yourself time to actually think about yourself all that often, and think, what am I good at? What are my achievements? What are my accomplishments? And for some people, it can be getting up that morning, getting your shoes on, and walking out the front door. That can be the biggest deal ever, or it can be, climbing Kilimanjaro. I mean, not many people I know have done that. So, but yeah, that kind of reaching and touching and being able to engage with women is what makes me tick. And I think it's to see how far people can come just from one conversation to say, have you thought about X, Y, and Z? It makes every day worthwhile.
I think there's two things there for me. That's the most important relationship you can have is with yourself, which I think we all probably forget that sometimes. And I think something around identity and really understand, like, getting to know who we are, and also not being defined by, I am a mother, I am a wife, I am, whatever career you do. And I think it takes a while to actually work that out, and who you want to be and to get to know yourself. Yeah.
And all of those things change, as a parent or a wife or a sister, all of those things can change. And when those things, especially if you've been made redundant from work and you hold a lot of your identity through work, it can be absolutely crushing. And it's like, well, who am I now? Where do I stand? And if your kids go off to university or your marriage breaks down or whatever it is, that change of identity can be really impactful. So it's kind of scooping people up to say, we've got you, we understand you, and we want to be able to support.
And I think for mums, Jen, obviously, the work that you do in the perinatal team, I think, that identity, that shift, and the responsibility and the challenges. Obviously, it's such a rewarding and happy time, but it's a really challenging time as well, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I can really hear what Ingrid says. That is, what we hear from a lot of our mums. They've suddenly got this new baby, and they're like, their identity has completely changed. They don't know who they are anymore. They're trying to find their new me, and what that looks like for them. And lots of mums see again other people around them and think, oh, this should be the happiest time of my life, I should be kind of on top of the world, that's what everyone's expecting from me, but I don't feel like that. And that's the bit that can feel isolating then, that it's why do I feel so different, why am I not happy? And that's the importance, I think, of groups, is where, like, we've said already, it's about coming together so that they can meet other people who are feeling similar, because there are, we all go through, like you say, there's lots of changes throughout life that we're going through, and our identity changes, and we have to kind of find that new me, but we are still in there, and it's remembering that. And so, like you say, those times, given that space to just pause and think about, okay, so this is, where I'm at now. So, what does the new me look like? How am I going to navigate this? How can I look after myself, during this transition time?
I think as well, there's the women who are unable to have children or have not had children yet. It's also trying to navigate that, and as well, that's isolating, because maybe what you planned for the future hasn't happened yet. So it's almost coming to terms with that yourself, and actually I should be doing this, and then you get people asking you. I know, Belle, we had a brief chat about it, didn't we?
Yeah, I mean, it's a difficult one, really, because the way I feel it from others, I'm not saying it's what people do, but I think when people learn that I haven't had children, they pity me, actually, in a way, or feel that there must have been something wrong there, and I haven't had that amazing experience they have. When the reality is that was a decision that I made out of responsibility because I wasn't able to care for a child in the way that I wanted to. Something to be admired, not to be felt sorry for. And the thing is, I think with women of our age, that is just a stigma, what I've just referred to. There are so many layers of stigma and things, and we were talking about identity. As women of this age, we have so many identities and roles that we play, but essentially, if we don't know who we are as the independent identity and look after our own mental well-being, then our ability to perform those other roles and be balanced as people, it becomes more fractured and difficult. And there's a lot of judgment as well. I mean, all that I talked about children and professional activity and stuff. As women at this age, we worry so much because there's our peers, other women, what they see us, our children, they see our partners. We feel kind of judged by society, yet invisible to the support we need from it, and that's what it's like. I mean, I went into a Good Mood Cafe and I spoke to women about this issue, and one of them said, I'm petrified of the kids moving on and I don't know where to start. And, another said, and who am I now? And she had become isolated at that point and didn't know how to look for her. And the loneliness became very difficult. I mean, one of the workshops we do at Mind is understanding my needs. And that is very much about emotional regulation, but it is looking about learning who we are again. And the thing with isolation is you don't have that meaning and purpose in your life, which enables you to build the self-esteem and that confidence. They kind of go hand in hand. And I think that's what a lot of the work, and community is essential for that. It's getting people involved and getting people together and out of isolation.
I think it's about someone said to me once, it's finding your people. Like, you just haven't found your person yet. You haven't found your. And I think once you do, it is amazing. I'm part of a running club here in St Neots, and we all went out, recently for a meal and things. But we're also open about in the conversations. One girl was, sharing about where she is in her life stage, and it wasn't maybe where she thought she'd be. And I think the more we can do that, I think she left that meal feeling a little bit brighter and a little bit better. Because, we said, don't worry about it. There's no time scale. There's no, you're all on your own journey, which I think is, something I always say and remember.
Yeah, and I think, it is finding those pockets of community that kind of have that similar interest in you, or maybe in the same stage of life as you. I know the one piece of feedback that always sits in my head from one of our groups is at the end of a mum coming to the end of her support with us, and her feedback around kind of the connections that she'd made and the people that she'd met was, I've made friends for life. And that, it just sticks with me because that's what we're about. That's what we want people to kind of leave our service, having that support around them so that they can move forward on their own and, have, a more positive, mental health and just be at peace with themselves and where they are in their time in life.
Yeah, it's a strange thing, and I've always say that I don't really know how to put my finger on it with Mind, but there's kind of like a vibe and an ethos, isn't there, because I didn't believe in myself anymore. And when collectively together in the community as part of the organisation, there were people that believed in me and said, yeah, you can do this. Come, try this, try that. People like Laura, yourself, Olivia, and all of my colleagues. It was getting together and that vibe of, yeah, we can. And, I'd lived for so long thinking, no, I can't, and I'd given up. And I think a lot of women find themselves given up and just thinking, because there is nothing left. And it's about saying, no, there is.
But I think,
which is
yeah,
what
and
the
that's
skydive was supposed to represent. That was what it was representing, you know.
And I think we all need to champion each other, don't we, as women? I think, Ingrid, obviously you're doing an amazing work in that area, and I think just generally whether it's in the workplace, in the community, I think we need to support one another, and I think we need to look out for one another.
Yeah, and recognising that there is support there, then you don't always have to go looking for it. You're actually getting the support without realising, but also knowing that there's organisations like Mind, and there's within the sort of the over 50s arena, shall we say, there are support. There's jobs specifically for older people. You don't have to battle. You don't have to think that you're on the scrap heap. That you are actually sought after. People do want your skills, and recognising that is a good thing, that there's still so much that you can bring. Not only, I think as well with women particularly, they get to a certain point in life and they find they want to do something with purpose, and I think that's where we've all kind of come here today. And there is that kind of recognition of, well, what can I do? What are my transferable skills? What can I bring? And then going, actually, this really resonates with me, whether it's working with a charity or working with a social enterprise like I do, that it's like you can give something back. That
we all have something to bring. I think, that's...
Absolutely.
So Ingrid, for anyone listening who wants to get in touch and find out about Midlife 360, where do you meet? When do you run the workshops and the sessions?
So the workshops happen monthly. They're varied between St Neots, Camborne and Cambridge. We kind of worked along the one road that I go backwards and forwards along. And the workshops are either in person or they can be online as well. But I also run a drop-in at the Conigere Centre in Huntingdon once a month, that people can just come along and have a chat. And we talk about all sorts. So, there's a lot of information out there that I can signpost people to and do recommendations for different jobs or different places to look or how to look. But I'm also available online. The website's midlife360.org.uk, and I'm on all the socials as well.
Fantastic. Yeah, well, thank you for all you're doing to support the community. And Jen, have to obviously, of course, shout out to our wonderful perinatal service and the support. I mean, have we got any impact you can share today? How many people do we support?
I mean, looking back over the last year, I think when I was looking at the recent figures, we've supported over 100 women into our courses and into our peer groups, which is phenomenal to see, those kind of numbers of women coming through and accessing. We spoke about earlier how difficult it can be coming to a group, and what we kind of pride ourselves on is that, we're not just going to ring you once or twice, and if you don't turn up, then we're going to leave you to it, because we know how hard it can be to walk through the door. And so, we really do pride ourselves that we will keep kind of giving you those little nudges and keep, trying to share our work around as much as we can, so that people see it at different points, so that we do get, eventually people feel comfortable enough to come along. Again, I think back to a piece of feedback I read maybe about 6 months ago of a mum who we'd had a referral kind of a year previous to her accessing our groups.
Oh, wow.
And then eventually we got her to come along on one of our Mums Matter groups, so she'd attended all 8 weeks and kind of had noticed, she got to the end and she was like, this is amazing, I feel like a different person. And the piece at the bottom of her feedback said, thank you for keep going on at me, keep reminding me that the group was there, because actually now I've attended it, it's changed my life. Wow. And, so that kind of, like you say, that repetition, that seeing the service, seeing what we do, hearing from us, all those little touch points made a difference. And eventually that mum was able to walk through the door, which is, amazing.
And then it's just, and then it's wonderful that she can share her experience and her impact with other mums as well.
Yeah, so, and we get lots of our volunteers come through. Like I say, I accessed the service and then became a volunteer and then delivered the service, and now I manage it. But we get lots. That's where lots of our volunteers come from, because they again have had that same experience, that there was, it was life changing coming along and going through that support. That now they support in our service by volunteering and being able to share their stories with other mums to show that there is hope and you can get through the other side, and it is positive and it can be okay.
Yeah, I can really relate to that. It's like I always talk about this whole journey that I've had with Mind of being quite an organically complete process, because I came along as a member of the community. I went underwent a journey with my mental health and the support, and now I kind of am putting back into the community, sort of giving people that support that I had in my journey. So it kind of, and it's incredibly fulfilling to now be able to watch people on that journey now and give them that holding hand, knowing what it was like to be there, and then what it feels like to lift out of that, and being able to support people to do that, you know, brings me so much, you know, and it's incredibly liberating when my life has been quite shaped by some quite negative challenges, to now being able to convert that into something that brings me so much meaning. And yeah, you know, at this time of life, people expect that you've got the training or you've had the experience and all the rest of it. I was suddenly thinking, what do I want to do professionally? And the thing is, those opportunities, I felt people weren't giving me the opportunity to be trained because it should have already been done. And, you know, the mental health challenges were the barrier, but Mind have allowed me those not to be a barrier for me to achieve those things.
That's really lovely to hear about. And we couldn't do what we do without our fantastic volunteers, such as Belle. You know, we are an independent charity. You know, we do rely on donations and support so we can, you know, develop new services such as perinatal service. So, yeah, we really do need support to keep doing what we're doing as well. So any final thoughts on terms of, in the future, what you would like, you know, to see happen? Where do we need to get to, I suppose, to support women in midlife, already building on the already fantastic work that everyone here is doing? Ingrid?
I think there's more awareness that's needed, that there are these barriers that women face and the challenges that women face, not only with organisations but with employers and with local authorities, to sort of say, you know, you've got this huge untapped potential with women. You can imagine if we all were able to go to work and work as hard as we needed to, but had flexible roles, and we had roles that gave us purpose and meaning, how much of a difference we could all make. So I think there's still a long way to go in terms of what we need to do, but by having, you know, podcasts like this and having these sorts of conversations, we're able to take it to the next step. So yeah, 2026 I think is going to be a busy year.
Absolutely. And Jen, did you?
Yeah, just kind of echoing what Ingrid said a little bit, really. It's for me, you know, continuing, you know, have the confidence to continue these conversations and keep talking about this, you know, for those that perhaps aren't so confident to talk about it at the minute, and hope then that they will come forward and reach out to, you know, communities, to employers, to families, to friends, and talk about what is going on for them.
Yeah, I mean, basically what you two have just said, but it's about collectively getting together to inspire and instill hope and, you know, and that belief in ourselves. And if somebody's not quite ready or not there with that hope and they don't believe in themselves, then let's collectively lift these people and say, yes, you can. Because that's how you get to the place where you believe in yourself again. It often is by having other people that believe in you too. So it is about inspiring hope and, you know, excitement. This can be a fun time. It's a joyful time. You know, that echoing word of the menopause fills us with so many dreadful ideas. All this. Actually, do you know, it's our new time in life. It's an extra time in life for us. You know, we're not needed as much by others, maybe, but we're needed by ourselves. Let's be there for ourselves, be our own best friends.
Yeah.
Improve our own well-being.
Yeah, no, that's great. Yeah. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you.